What's up, PTB Nation? Welcome to another episode of Parking the Bus. I'm the Mr. Mike Agustinu here with you again. You see my Twitter handle there on the screen if you're watching right now, whether you're watching on Twitter at PTB_media or you're watching on the YouTube channel. If you're watching on the Parking the Bus or PTB Media Network YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. All right, let's start getting some subscribers here. I know most of you watch this on Twitter and not on YouTube. I get that, but the goal for the rest of the season is to start to grow this YouTube audience. Special hello also to everyone listening in podcast form, wherever you're listening, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you're listening. Hello. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast player and recommend the show to anyone you think might like it. Okay, share the show on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it wherever you share your content. All right, let's get more people towards this show. I think there's a lot of people out there that would like it. We just got to get the word out. How y'all doing? All right, we're here to talk about the Europa Conference League final today. And like I was beginning to say, you can see my handle there on the screen if you're watching. It's at Mike Agustino. That's at MikeAgostinho. Go ahead and give me a follow, all right? And also give the PTB Media Network a follow if you haven't yet at PTB_media. All right, so again, the Europa Conference League final is what brings us here today. Yes, I'm a day late. I know you haven't heard from me in a few days, and you probably thought that it was going to be another dark period. I seem to get into these grooves where I put out daily episodes for 10 days and then disappear for 3 months. I don't want that to happen. Things happen, though. Things come up, and I'm back here tonight. I was able to get some time here to do this, and special treat for everybody watching, because coming up at 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight, if you're watching either on YouTube or on Twitter, or if you're watching at www.parkingthebusmedia.com, also there at 8 o'clock is going to be the next episode of Parking the Bus, the one that I promised you that I hadn't delivered on yet. After this episode, I'll be catching you up to speed on the Brasileirão Round 7 and on the Liga MX semifinals. I'll close that door, and that show will go live. We'll stream tonight at 8 p.m. and that'll take you into tonight's first leg of the Liga MX La Gran Final, the grand final between Atlas and Pachuca. So that's also coming up a little bit later. But now, Europa Conference League, Roma versus Feyenoord, another European final for the special one for Jose Mourinho. And you guys must know how I feel about Jose Mourinho because, well, look at the name of this show, right? And the critics are out in full force once again. The critics are out about the negative play. The negative play. Well, you know what's not negative? What's not negative is that Jose Mourinho has been to 5 European finals now in his career. He's yet to bottle one. Unlike some other highly touted, never criticized managers out there, when they get to the big one and they just overdo it and they bottle it and they make excuses that they had the ball more, that they created more. Listen, when it comes to finals, the only thing that matters is who ends the match with more goals than the other one. Jose gets it done. Now 4 straight European finals for Jose Mourinho without surrendering a goal, going back 2004. 2004. Going back to 2004, Jose Mourinho yet to surrender a goal in a European final. 4 straight European finals, a Champions League, 2 Champions League finals, a Europa League, and now a Europa Conference. The man gets the job done. I know he's not the most popular one out there. I know a lot of people got a lot of hate for Jose Mourinho. I know a lot of the English language press really has a lot of hate for Jose Mourinho. All you got to do is listen. All you got to do is listen. The Brits hate it. Here in the U.S., CBS Sports on their Golasso podcast, poo-pooing all over this. They called it a horrible match, that they had to tape their eyes open to watch it. Man, they'll say anything but give credit where credit is due sometimes. And credit is due to Jose Mourinho, but not just Jose Mourinho. Okay? Not just Jose Mourinho. There were some players that were absolutely instrumental in this match for Roma. No, it was not pretty. No, they did not possess the ball for 65, 70% of the match. No, they did not create endless chances, but they defended well. The way the commentator would say is they were saved by last-ditch defending. Last-ditch defending is defending. They defended well. Their goalkeeper played very well. Rui Patricio, he put himself in a time machine and went back to 2016. He looked like Rui Patricio in the Euro 2016 final. Some of the saves he made in this one, it was just in a small window of time too. It was not. Everyone's talking about Feyenoord like they played this phenomenal match where they just controlled everything and had chance after chance after chance and were unlucky. That's not exactly what happened. They had good chances, but those chances, fell in a window of time. Those chances fell early in the second half for the most part. Okay, outside of that 10, 15-minute window there, where really Roma were called upon, outside of that, Feyenoord were not all that dangerous, okay? They were not all that dangerous. Their most dangerous shot in the first half hit Rui Patricio right in the chest. They do a lot of nice stuff with the ball in the middle third, on the flanks. The difference between Feyenoord and Roma, well, the difference, I should say, in Dutch football, you can see if you watch this match, it's enough, I think, to see why Feyenoord is third in the Eredivisie, okay? I've been fortunate this season to see enough, not a lot, but enough, in my opinion, of both Ajax and of PSV. Feyenoord is clearly the third team in that league. They are clearly not at the same level of those two. And one of the big differences, although there's a consistency with all three of these teams, is that when you sit deep, and Jose did it, okay, the same way Benfica did it to Ajax, okay, when you sit deep and you take away the space in behind, and you just keep them in front of you, they struggle to find a goal. The Dutch teams, that is. And Feyenoord showed they were on a lower level than Ajax or PSV. Okay, because I've seen both of those teams, and they have players that can make the difference. A lot of talk about a couple of these Feyenoord players. But outside of that 10-15, you could stretch it to a 20-minute window. Out of the 90, they posed little to no danger for Roma. Roma got their goal. Okay, they got their goal. That counts. Taking your opportunities counts. It's not anti-football when you take your opportunities. It's not anti-football when you close down space and you force the team to do something, force your opponent to do something they're not really equipped to do. There's no true goal scorer in this Feyenoord team from what you could see. No one that was going to come between the lines, receive the ball, turn, take somebody on, and maybe fire a shot at goal with some danger. Let's get into the lineups, all right? And again, a lot of respect for Feyenoord, don't get me wrong, but let's not overvalue the prettiness of their play. We've seen teams that play pretty go home this season. We've seen teams like Ajax, teams like Manchester City, Feyenoord, PSV. I'm thinking of the Dutch teams in particular, but not just them, but especially them, go home when they cannot create the scoring opportunities the way they like to play. In the pregame on Paramount Plus, okay, and for as much as I'm going to criticize CBS's opinions or their CBS's hosts' opinions on their podcasting platform on Que Golazo, the in studio crew for CBS Sports, Poppy Miller, Thomas Rongen, um, Mike Grella, and Marco Messina. Okay, get it. Yeah, two of them are Italian Americans. I get it, but they get it. Thomas Rongen got it. He said Thomas Rongen made a brilliant prediction before the match when he was asked by his former player Mike Grella. And I think actually, and Marco Messina also asked this. Will Feyenoord change the way they play if Roma do not allow them? And Thomas Rongen looked at them and said, they only know one way to play, for better or worse, and I think it's going to hurt them today. Thomas Rongen was right on the money. This is my issue with teams that play pretty. They become, they get a moralistic view of themselves in the way that they play, and will not or cannot change that when it is taken away from them, when it is not to their best interest to continue to make 5 or 10 yard passes side to side, to make small touches, move it back, swing it around. Okay, when the passing lanes in the final third aren't there because Roma's sitting in deep and they've cut them all, sometimes you have to lob one over the top. Sometimes you have to shoot from distance to test the goalkeeper. Sometimes you need to create traffic in front of goal and create mayhem. Sometimes you just have to close your eyes and wipe and whip it in, okay? You have to do what you have to do. You can't always play pretty. And we're seeing teams in football right now, and I named a few, who can only play pretty. Yeah, I said it. They can only play pretty, at least effectively. And they become much easier to play against. And if you're a manager like Jose, and you know how to drop your lines, and you know how to bunker in, and you know how to organize your men, you make life very hard for the team that's trying to play pretty. It's almost like giving your own team a handicap. How about play scrappy early? How about come out playing a little direct, throw the other team off a little bit, and then find space to play when you've kind of stretched them out a little bit, when you force them out of their end a little bit. How about that? Sometimes managers and teams in certain countries believe so much in the style of play they cannot even fathom making any adjustments against any opponent because they believe that they're above that. Those teams very rarely win cups, knockout tournaments, knockout competitions. This is why Manchester City slips and bottles it in the Champions League year after year. Playing that way will win you league titles because over 38 or 34 rounds, yes, you're going to win. You're going to win a lot more than you lose, and you're probably going to win the league when you have that talented of a team and you can play that way. There's only 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 teams in the world that can play. Actually, to the level that Manchester City plays, there's only really them right now. Okay, everyone else that plays that way is trying to get to their level. But as you've seen throughout this season and throughout past seasons, when you meet an opponent that is good enough, whose level is close enough to yours, and is not that interested in taking the ball from you, is not that interested in having the ball instead of you, you've seen Manchester City have trouble. You've seen Ajax, although they play beautiful, run into trouble. It has been a long time since Barcelona have won a European title for these reasons. Teams have figured out how to play against this. Yes, it requires teams to be of a certain elite level, and not many are there. And that's when you're Barcelona. When you're Feyenoord, you don't have to be here anymore because you don't have the dangerous element of your game. You can be here and still stymie a team like Feyenoord. All right, let's look at the lineups like I had just said, and I'm going to pull them up right now. Again, I think that this is a big accomplishment for Jose Mourinho, going to Italy, returning to Italy, and I I've seen it on Twitter, and some of y'all get it, and it's true. He should just stay in Italy the rest of his career. This man is made for this league. They appreciate what his ways. This team has bought into him so much so that Tammy Abraham is giving him a wink there at the end. He's totally bought into Jose Mourinho. The Italian supporters understand what he's doing. They see the value in it. The Romanistas are happy with what he did this season. And now he's delivered the European trophy that has eluded the club since its founding. Roma were founded in 1924, 98 years ago. They have a passionate fan base. They have not won a lot. They have teams in the past who have absolutely just won over the Romantics. You can think of the Roma in the 80s, early 80s, and then later in the later 80s. But in the early 80s, when they got to the European Cup final in 84, you think of the Sven-Goran Eriksson years at Roma. They got to the UEFA Cup final in 1990, if I'm not mistaken. But there's very little silverware in the trophy case for AS Roma. Okay? This is a big one. This is something they didn't have. They have not won the Scudetto since 2000, if I'm not mistaken. That great team with a young Francesco Totti and a in his prime Gabriel Batistuta, among others. It's been a long, long time for Roma. We've seen them come close but fall short. We saw them in the Champions League get to the semifinals but fall short. This time they got to the final. This time the Giallorossi got the job done. They get their first European trophy in their club's history. Let's look at the lineups. All right, without further ado, I'll start with Arne Slot's Feyenoord side, playing 4-3-3, very Dutch. Here we go. Below is the goalkeeper, Bijlow. He sits in the back. The four across the back line. Gertruda is the right back. Trauner and Senesi are the two. Senesi, I guess how you say it. The two center backs, with Malacia as the left back. In the midfield, you have Arsnes, Til, and Kochu, the young Turkish player in the midfield. And then in the attack, okay, you have a very touted attack here. All right, you have on the right, you've got Reece Nelson. In the center, you've got the Belgian striker, Cyril Dessers. He's 27 years old, and he is their goal-scoring threat. But at this level, he didn't look to really get himself in too many good positions. And then to the left, you have the highly touted 22-year-old Colombian, Luis Lucho Sinisterra. And many people say he's the future, one of the future stars of the Colombian national team, along with Liverpool's Luis Diaz. And he did some things, but again, very little in terms of danger outside of that window of time where they really did have Roma pinned back. Okay, Roma will come out playing a 3-4-2-1, which very easily flexed into a 4-4-2, or I should say a 4-2-3-1 is really what it would turn into. Brian Cristante would drop into the back line when necessary, and this is one of the better matches I've seen Brian Cristante play. And I've been watching this guy play for a long time. Really, really impressed with his performance today. The goalkeeper, of course, Rui Patricio. The three center backs, you've got Gianluca Mancini, Chris Smalling, and Roger Ibanez across the back. Ibanez, I should say. And it was kind of a tough match for Ibanez, in my opinion. I thought that he was a little bit underwhelming in this one, but again, his defensive partners did pick him up, and I I misspoke. I wasn't talking about Ibanez. It was Pellegrini is the guy that in my notes I wrote here was underwhelming. But anyway, Ibanez, no, in the back line, Ibanez did well along with Smalling and Mancini. And Chris Smalling's come a long way for me. This is a guy I could not stand at Manchester United. I never wanted to see him in that back line ever. He's just a guy I never wanted to see there. And he's grown into a solid, I guess, with a lot of minutes and with I think a league that's more his pace probably. And then he's gained the confidence. He's grown into a very, very good Serie A central defender. And it would be interesting to see how Chris Smalling would do in the Premier League now that he's older, wiser, smarter, anticipates better, reads the game in front of him a lot better, doesn't have to rely on other things, on athletic things as much. I would be interested to see, but I really like him at Roma, and I like this core group here at Roma, and I hope that they keep it together as much as possible. The in front of them, okay. Uh, the left wing back is Nikola Zaleski, the Polish 20-year-old, and the right wing back is Rick Kardstorp, who's a Dutch player, 27 years old, playing against his compatriots. The double pivot in midfield is the aforementioned Brian Cristante, partnered up with Henrik Mkhitaryan. Big game for him. Remember, he could not play for Arsenal when they were in the Europa League final just a few years ago because he was not allowed to travel to Azerbaijan for that final. So this was a big opportunity, or a big moment for Henrik Mkhitaryan here. In front of him, you have Nicola Zaniolo down the right and Lorenzo Pellegrini down the left. Pellegrini, of course, the captain. And they're playing behind the striker, Tammy Abraham, who has just been phenomenal this season for Roma. And the match starts kind of, jousty, if you will. Both teams jostling for position, getting back and forth. But it does not take long, unfortunately, for disaster to strike if you're a Roma fan. And again, I talked about him having had to miss the Europa League final just a few seasons ago when he was at Arsenal. And he was not able to play in that because he couldn't make that trip because the Azerbaijan government could not guarantee his safety. This was absolutely bizarre. And UEFA does bizarre things and puts finals in bizarre places. Fortunately, I do have to say that the Tirana was a good selection for this final. The stadium looked great. It was full. It was loud. Both sets of supporters were there. But in the 17th minute, Mkhitaryan is injured. And he's coming back from an injury, and I'm sure he worked like crazy to get back for this final. But after 17 minutes, it's clear he can't continue. The tears are flowing as he's a little bit emotional. Jose goes to one of his trusted hands to fill in for him. So on comes Sergio Oliveira for Henrik Mkhitaryan. Roma have to adjust to one of their key players in the middle of the park being out. But Oliveira has played well for Roma this season. I mean, now faces the tough challenge of being dropped into the final from the bench. It is a tough challenge, but he comes in early enough where he can get his feet under him and he can and I think he played really, really well next to Cristante. And I'm going to talk about Cristante here because I think Cristante, again, was ginormous in this match. Again, a lot of the pundits are talking about ugly football, talking about how, Roma only had one chance and that all of the chances belong to Feyenoord and they're unlucky. None of these so-called analysts giving any credit to Brian Cristante. Brian Cristante would drop into the back four when needed, okay, and he would partner up with them. He was cutting out passing lanes all day. He was up and down the pitch, okay? He was side to side. He was always there in support. He sends the ball. He plays the brilliant driven ball to Zaniolo on the goal. He's connecting passes, not just laterally, not just back. He's connecting forward and diagonal passes as well. And he's just always there to break up the play. I know we talk about how we don't have destroyers anymore, or how it's not a, it's not a such a desired type of player anymore, the quote unquote destroyer. Now, when you're Jose Mourinho, you want a destroyer, and Brian Cristante has grown into that. He can do a lot of other things. He's not just a destroyer, but he can destroy the other team's play. And when you play a Feyenoord that want to play at a certain tempo, that want to move the ball, that want to connect all these passes, this is the perfect antidote for it. And it is a performance for, I think, that Brian Cristante can hang his head high over, or I should say, can hold his head high about for. I mean, for the rest of his career, because he was instrumental in bringing this title to Roma today, or last night, I should say. I wasn't able to record this the day of the match, so yesterday. But again, Brian Cristante cutting out passes, connecting his own passes, tackling, winning 50-50s, winning it in the air, and then, of course, distributing the way he did. This was a match where he showed everything he can do. And I think he's a very underrated player. I think he should get more recognition for what he does. But I also think he's in the right team. He's in the right place, and he's playing with the right manager. And again, look at the name of this podcast. I'm obviously a Jose guy. I'm obviously a Mourinho guy. Okay, and just the thing is, again, Roma were under pressure for a little while. The rest of the time, they were controlling the play without the ball. They were allowing Feyenoord to move the ball around, allowing Feyenoord to get the ball to their flanks, to create one versus ones. But every time they beat somebody, support was there for the next guy. Okay, there was always another defender. We finally get our moment here in the 32nd minute. It is Zaniolo, and it is on a nice ball sent from Cristante, who plays it in over the top, and it sails over Troner, who really makes a mistake of this one. He steps up to it, he jumps at it, but it comes off the very back of his head and hits Zaniolo right in the chest. And then Zaniolo reacts to the goalkeeper's poor decision to come off his line from when he probably shouldn't have, because he took his defender's opportunity away from trying to get in front of this, trying to close this down a little bit. He came right out and gave Zaniolo the easy option to just go over the top, and he lobs it to him. Zaniolo puts Roma ahead 1-0 in the 32nd. The Italian outfit opened the scoring with the first chance of the game, courtesy of this smart finish from Zaniolo. And as we said, it goes over Troner, chested down by Zaniolo, reacts quickly as the onrushing below comes out, and he pokes the effort past him, and he finds the back of the net, and it is 1-0 for Roma. And again, the tiki-tac fans, I'd rather see a 4-3 than a 1-0 type of fan, knew what was coming next. Okay, you can criticize it all you want, but it's effective. Okay, you knew Roma were not going to give away much more. Although we'll fast forward to the second half, and at halftime, the notes here say that Jose Mourinho will be satisfied with this side's performance in the first half. They were clinical when needed to be and looked solid at the back. The Portuguese is a master of the game management and will be drilling into his players that they are 45 minutes from silverware. That was at halftime. And Roma hold a 1-0 lead over Feyenoord in the Europa Conference League final. Blah, blah, blah. We know that Zaniolo put the Italians ahead with the first chance of the game. Feyenoord starts to respond. They do start to come forward. They do start to see a lot of the ball and in decent positions. But they never really had that final delivery. A few chances here early in the second half, okay? And it was real early. It was in the 47th minute. This is where Roma really were a little bit flat. They came out of the locker room a little flat, and Kokchu sends a low cross to the near post, and Mancini nearly steers it into his own net, but the ball clatters off of the post. Till latches onto the rebound, fires at goal half volley, only to see his effort pushed past the post by Rui Patricio. Now, this brought on a VAR check in the 48th minute for a possible handball on Cristante. But after reviewing it, it is unscathed. There is no penalty. The VAR check was over fairly quickly, and no penalty. But we get another save from, and this is the save of the game from Rui Patricio that probably earns him the man of the match honors, at least according to FOTMob. But it was Arsene producing a subline back heel from Malakia on the edge of the Roma box, and he hammers a strike towards the top right corner, but Rui Patricio produces a brilliant stop to turn it onto the post and wide. He literally got just enough on it so that it would hit the post. The save of the game, maybe of the season, for Rui Patricio, who was dropped from his national team not that long ago in these very important World Cup qualifying playoffs. Patricio was dropped. Now, a lot of players could take that a lot of different ways, but he has responded, and I think in this game, he just wanted to remind everyone that he can still play this game, that he's still a premier goalkeeper, and that he's still the same guy that put that epic performance against France in the final of Euro 2016. In the 52nd minute, Abraham breaks past Senesi following a mistake by the defender, and he has his arm pulled back by another Feyenoord defender. He stumbles, loses his balance, and loses the ball. The referee gives nothing. This was not good refereeing. Even worse by the VAR. And this, my friends, is why players dive. Abraham stays on his feet and tries to play the ball. A reward for that is told to play on. Had he gone down immediately, he may have at least forced a VAR check. This should have gone to VAR because Senesi is the last man. This, in my opinion, was very much a clear and obvious goal-scoring opportunity. Cogso, at least worthy of a look, and we never got any indication that VAR was looking at it. We never got any indication of that. And it should have been. I mean, I get it's not a penalty, it's outside the area, but the reason it's outside the area is because the defender did everything he could to stop Tammy Abraham from approaching the area and then throwing him off balance enough that he takes too heavy of a touch and loses the ball. This is a poor bit of refereeing from both the referee and from the VAR. I know people, I'm so tired of hearing this British thing where you don't want the referees to have an impact in the match. If the referee closes his eyes to something that is a clear offense or something that clearly affects what someone does, he or she is just as much affecting the match as if they call a penalty. The referee's job, and I say this all the time, is to call what happens. It is not to create a storyline or to keep it fair. It's not to keep it even. It's not to call the same amount of fouls for one team as for the other. The referee's job is not to control the match. The referee's job is to arbitrate what happens in the match. And referees too often get caught up in allowing certain things and then trying to clamp down and really just trying to set boundaries rather than just calling what happens. Instead of trying to teach and not teach, but trying to, trying to show players what they can get away with, what the margins are, how much is too much. That's not the job of the referee. The job of the referee is to call what happens. But from here on, Roma start to find more control. They start to hold Feyenoord more at bay. Another So they are saying that it does say here that the VAR did check for supposed foul, and there was no action taken against the defender. And that's because they didn't want to take any action. Because the video is very clear. There is absolutely no doubt that he grabbed Tammy Abraham's arm and pulled him. That's a foul. This referee and this VAR did not want to issue a red card for that, but they should have. I don't want to hear that that ruins the game, that takes out the spirit of the game, puts someone as a disadvantage. Don't do it. If you do something, it's the referee's job to call it. It's not the referee's job to give second chances. It's not the referee's job to keep it 11 versus 11. This is where I really, really disagree with a lot of pundits who think that the referee should just let everything go. That affects the match just as much as calling too many things. Okay, so we move forward. Again, Roma starting to sink in a little bit, starting to get to bunker in. Smalling gets a nice block in the 58th minute, and it's a strike from Koku, and it's deflected away by Smalling after Malakia's cross is diverted into the path of the Turkish midfielder in the inside left channel. We get a substitution in the 59th. Tornstra replaces Till for Feyenoord. 60th, Smalling slips a little bit under pressure from Dessers, but Ibanez gets back and knocks the ball away. Feyenoord go forward, but play is halted anyway because the referee deems a handball from Dessers. Feyenoord have 75.4% of possession in the opening 15 minutes of the second half. Again, if that were the object of the game, they would be in the Champions League final. I mean, all that possession, and again, I think little to show for it. They had some opportunities, but really lack that killer instinct to convert this possession and convert this nice football. And it is nice. Don't get me wrong. It is nice to convert it into goals, because at the end of the day, you only win with goals. We see a yellow card for Zaleski in the 66th minute, and then we get some substitutions by Mourinho in the 67th. Jordan Verito comes on for Nicolo Zaniolo. The goal scorer comes off with about 25 minutes to play, and in comes Leonardo Spinazzola. What a difficult 12 months it has been for Leonardo Spinazzola. Remember, at Euro 2020, he was injured and missed the final. Italy's play dropped, significantly when he came out of the team due to injury. And I'm going to even say that if he doesn't get hurt at Euro 2020 last summer, that Italy most likely go to the World Cup. They win their group. They take care of business, and they don't miss it the way they did. And it's just been an absolute roller coaster 12 months for Italian football in general, but certainly for Leonardo Spinazzola, who was injured, badly. Here he is, 10 months later, playing a final, getting in a final. He gets the last 23 minutes. He replaces Nikola Zalewski, and it's just great to see Spinazzola on the pitch again. Abraham has an opportunity in the 68th. He latches onto a ball over the top from Cardshorp, but under pressure from Senesi. He lifts his eventual strike at goal from the inside right channel, but over the bar. In the 73rd, Spinazzola wins a corner for Roma down the left flank, and it's taken by Pellegrini. His delivery is cleared as far as Verito, who on the edge of the box rifles a strike towards goal. Abilo gets down and makes a vital save, pushing it away from goal. We get substitutions for Feyenoord in the 74th minute. On comes Brian Lenson for Reece Nelson, and on comes Marcus Holmgren Peterson for Gernot Trane. Okay, so those are the substitutions. Time starting to run low for Feyenoord. They try to force the issue, but they're just not good at forcing the issue. They rely so heavily on the way they play that when you get into these situations, it's very hard to change something that's been so ingrained in you that it's hard to show any desperation, to throw things forward, to just, again, mix it up and see what happens. It gets to be very, very hard. Smalling continuing to win his battle with Dessers, knocking the ball away in the 79th minute. Feyenoord keep working the ball neatly in the 80th, and Dessers is in the box again before he tees up Sinisterra. The Colombian, however, takes one touch too many, tries to find Malacia, and he loses out to Mancini. Another shot gets blocked in the 81st. Dessers gets the better of Spinazzola on the right flank, breaks into the box, lines up a strike from the inside left channel, but it's blocked by Smalling. Again, talking about Smalling. Big game from Chris Smalling. Cutting off, it's all about angles, and it's all about passing lanes and cutting them off. When you have a team that likes to do this, you have to make sure you just don't let them get a clean last delivery in the final third in goal scoring opportunities, and you can control the match that way. Sinisterra again inside left flank fires at goal, but this time it is Patricio watching it safely come into his hands. Again, good goalkeeping. Sometimes people say that the shot is right at the goalkeeper. A lot of times it's because the goalkeeper positioned himself perfectly. That's why the shot is right at him. Defending well, goalkeeping well. These are all important things that matter in this sport. It's not just about completing passes. It's not just about firing shots. It's not about all that. There are many ways to win in football. What I love about this sport is there are many ways to win. I watch my fair share of basketball, but you can't win a basketball game by giving the ball to the other team and just trying to sink in and wait for a fast break. No, you have to play half court basketball at some point. If the other team does not press you, you have to play a half court game, and you have to you can't change the way that the game is played and just play in your own half court and force them out to create space for you. These things are unique to football, that you can completely just, and I'm not saying Roma did this, they didn't do this, but you cannot completely just disregard having the ball and wait for the other team to make an error and pounce on them. Roma have proven this season they can play many different ways. Okay, all of the criticism of Jose Mourinho, he has played when he's had to by possessing, he's played by countering, he's played in low blocks, he's played in direct football. He does what he has to do to win the football match. He's not married to an ideology. He's not married to a methodology. Okay, Jose evaluates what's in front of him and finds the best, or at least tries to find the best way to get the job done. I think this was a fantastic, dare I say, a masterclass tactically. He had his team in the right places. He knew what he was up against today. And it has to be said that Feyenoord failed at punishing them for giving them so much of the ball. Rui Patricio gets a time-wasting yellow card in the 84th minute. In the 86th, Pellegrini has a chance to wrap it up. This could have made Romanistas a little nervous in the 86th. He was denied by below. Verito treads the skipper through into the Feyenoord box, takes a touch before shooting on his left foot, but the goalkeeper makes a solid stop. Another double substitution for Feyenoord here in the 88th minute, and it was Alireza Yankabash coming on for Tyrell Malacia, and Patrick Wallermark comes on for Kokchu, as well as two substitutions for Roma at the same exact time. Eldor Shumerdov comes on and replaces Tammy Abraham, Abraham gets a standing ovation from the Roma faithful. What a fantastic first season in the Serie A, in Italy, and in the Europa Conference for Tammy Abraham this season. I think he really elevated his game. And I think if you're Garrett Southgate, you have to be thinking about Tammy Abraham for Qatar later this summer. I know he's not going to be the first guy on your list because you're talented at that position, but you have to be thinking about him. Another substitution, Matthias Bina comes on for Rick Kardskorp, and 5 minutes of added time given by the referee. In the 90th plus 2, Dessers flicks a long ball forward from Gertruda into the path of Linson, but he misses his kick at the back post, and it lets Roma off the hook. Here it is at 90th plus 2 is when you finally get a long ball and a flick into a dangerous area from Feyenoord, and Spinazzola sees a yellow card for time wasting in the 90th plus 4, but in the 90th plus 5, the referee blows his whistle 3 times for full time. Roma secure their first major European trophy by winning the Europa Conference League, the very first Europa Conference League. And I said this about the UEFA Nations League. I said this about the CONCACAF Nations League. And I'm going to say it again about the Europa Conference League. You can only one team gets to be first. And your name will forever be the first name on that trophy. AS Roma and Jose Mourinho are first. No one can ever take that away from them. You can say what you want about this tournament. I think this tournament has been phenomenal, to be honest. It brought a lot of teams to the forefront. It gave visibility to a lot of historic clubs from smaller leagues. And in the end, you get a champion from a big league anyway. You get a club starved for a European trophy. You get a club that appreciates the moment, like a Roma and a Feyenoord in this final. And, I think I don't think UEFA could have asked for more. And the supporters of the clubs that were in this competition really, really got into this competition. That can't be understated. Nicolo Zaniolo scored the only goal of the game in the first half to earn the crown for his team. The Dutch outfit pushed in the second stanza, and came close twice as Gianluca Mancini almost scored an own goal before Tyrell Malacia was denied by a super stop from Rui Patricio. However, Roma had the news to see out the contest and lift their first trophy in 14 years. So 14 years ago, I believe they won the Coppa Italia. Now they have won the Europa Conference League, the very first edition of the Europa Conference League. Both teams end their campaign here and head into summer. Roma basking in their triumph. They'll go directly to the Europa League group stage now. As a result of winning this, they had qualified for the Europa League anyway, but now I believe they go, if I'm not mistaken, they go right into the seeded pot versus maybe a lower seed, having finished below Lazio in the table. The two sides will return to European action next season in the Europa League, having qualified domestically for that competition. A few statistics to throw out there for you before we wrap this up. Feyenoord ends the match with 67% of the possession, 13 total shots to 9. Each team had one big chance, and Feyenoord missed theirs and Roma didn't. That's the difference. At the end of the day, finals are decided by toe pokes. You take coaching courses and you get all of this instruction and you talk about technique, technical, tactical. At the end of the day, I remember my instructor telling me when we were talking about how much time should be spent working on proper execution of a shot, and he goes, remember that World Cups, and in this case, club European Cups, are won on toe pokes. When it comes to it, it's however you can get the goal, you're going to get the goal. Some managers are more willing to do the less popular, the less stylistic, the less romantic things, but those managers in the end tend to come out on top. And for me, as a Jose Mourinho fan, it's great to see this retribution. It's great to see him at a club that appreciates him. I think he was treated miserably, both at United and at Tottenham. In fact, Tottenham sacked him to prevent him from winning a cup. That's a whole different story. But here, Roma trust him. Roma's sporting director, Tiago Pinto, who I also am very familiar with. He was for a long time in charge at Benfica, and we've not been good since he left. I'm going to be honest. Since Tiago Pinto left Benfica, we have been a disaster. He brought Mourinho to Roma when Paulo Fonseca, last year's manager, was very much the much more sexy pick. He played a brand of football people salivated over, but in the end dropped too many points. In the end was knocked out of European competitions and cup competitions. Jose would not sacrifice results for style. That's something the Italian football fan understands. That's why he is so regarded in Italy. Remember that he is the last manager. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty certain that Inter were the last Italian team to win the Champions League. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. He was the last manager to bring a European trophy to Italy, and he's done it again a decade and then some later. Because he knows how to win these matches. He knows how to get it done at this stage. Okay, a few more stats here. Again, passes, it's mind-blowing. 572 completed passes for Feyenoord. 89% efficiency rate. Only 288 for Roma. They're not interested in doing that. What's interesting, though, what tells a little bit of a story is Feyenoord had almost as many passes in their own half as they did in the opposition's half. All right, accurate long balls, they were almost even. 35 for Feyenoord, 33 for Roma. Accurate crosses, Roma, 4 accurate crosses for 40% efficiency, while Feyenoord only connected 3 crosses accurately, and they have a 13% efficiency. So a lot of poor crosses too. Again, when it has to get a little more direct, these teams struggle to do that. Now, in their league, they don't have to get that way. I get that. That's part of being from the Dutch league or the Portuguese league or even the French league. Okay, this is part of the problem for PSG is you play a certain way domestically, and nobody forces you out of that comfort zone, or not enough teams force you out of that comfort zone. Then you get to a match like this where the stakes are high, and the team is of a higher level than you're used to, and they are able to take what you do very well away from you. That leaves you, having to do it differently, and that's when it really favors the teams from more difficult leagues. All right. Again, congratulations to Roma. Roma Bella. They are the champions of the UEFA Europa Conference League. It's a mouthful, but get used to it. This tournament's here to stay. My final thoughts on this tournament. I think it was a fantastic tournament. I enjoyed watching it. I'm hoping next year we already have some excitement next year because we got Fiorentina coming into this competition from Italy. We have Villarreal coming from Spain. We have West Ham coming from England. Those are 3 strong teams that are no doubt are going to really push the envelope in this competition, really going to carry the banner and bring a lot of eyeballs to the competition. And they're going to give some lesser-known clubs a platform to stand on, a opportunity, a stage to show the world and show Europe, and not just in Europe, because I'm not in Europe, I'm in America, but I watch this, and there's a lot of people watching, not just in Europe, but in not just in America, in Australia, in Asia, in Africa, wherever. This competition brings eyeballs. So this competition fulfills the dreams of a lot of clubs and players who otherwise would never play in Europe, at least not at a group stage and later. So again, I'm a big fan. I liked the idea of this tournament when it was presented. I like it even more now that I've seen it, and I'm looking forward to next season. All right, that's going to do it for this episode number 84. I think we're on 84, the Europa Conference League final. I'll be back in about, and I'll be back at 8 o'clock East. 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight, and I'll be looking at Brasileirão and the Liga MX semifinals, taking you into the first leg tonight of La Gran Final. Atlas hosting Pachuca tonight. So I will be back with more content very soon. But if you're not interested in that, thank you for listening to this, for watching this. Again, give me a follow. You see my handle there on the screen. It's at MikeAgostinho, at Mike Agostinho. And follow the show at PTB_media. Go and subscribe at YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast. And check out the homepage, www.parkingthebusmedia.com. This is the Mr. Mike Agostinho signing off, and I'll see you next time here on the Parking the Bus podcast on the PTB Media Network.